Precious freshwater supplies are also drying up, such as aquifers under the major cities of Beijing, Delhi, Bangkok, and dozens of other regions, such as the Midwestern United States, while the river Ganges, Jordan, Nile, and Yangtze have been reduced to a trickle for much of the year.
Extreme weather events, droughts around the world, part 3 of 3. Continue watching to find out more.
Welcome to the third and final episode in our series Extreme Weather Events, Droughts Around the World. Today we'll explore more about drought-induced conditions, this time in Asia and Australia. Southeast Asia consists of a group of diverse countries that lie between the Indian and Pacific Oceans. The climate of the region may be described as tropical, meaning that the weather tends to be hot and humid for most of the year. Due to the rising air created by the sun's heating, the area also experiences abundant rainfall, and during certain periods, thunderstorms can occur every day. But the global climate crisis has dramatically changed this situation, and residents are now facing severe droughts and lack of fresh water. More than 66 million Southeast Asians have had their lives disrupted by drought in the past 3 decades. Severe drought and the construction of dams have driven the Mekong River to its lowest level in 100 years, endangering food supplies for tens of millions of people.
Water flows in the lower Mekong River in Ao Lac, also known as Vietnam,
are so feeble that salt water from the South China Sea is pushing through the delta. The salt, damaging to crops, is a disaster for rice farmers in the delta, which accounts for half of
Ao Lac, also known as Vietnam's rice production.
As of March 2020, at least 95,600 households have been affected by water shortages. More than 38,000 hectares of agriculture land have been damaged or lost, and 5 provinces are in a state of emergency. The neighboring country, Thailand, is also experiencing its worst drought in approximately 4 decades. River levels are so low that saltwater from the ocean is creeping upstream and affecting drinking water supplies. And in a country where 11 million people work in agriculture, crop production and in turn the economy are expected to suffer. According to Bank of Ayodhya's periodical Krungsi research, the 2020 drought is projected to cost Thailand 46 billion baht, $1.5 million, or 0.27% of its GDP. In the report, Dr. Amida Salsia Alisiabana, Executive Secretary of the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, UNESCAP, states, Southeast Asia has many dry years ahead. This should come as no surprise. Many parts of the region have regularly been stricken by droughts that have destroyed crops, heightened fire risks, and led to acute shortages of drinking water. In East Asia, a severe drought is plaguing East China's Anhui province, leaving crops damaged and drinking water supplies disrupted in some of the hardest hit regions, according to local authorities. A total of 45 cities and counties have been ravaged, with regions in 3 cities along the Yangtze River suffering from the worst drought in up to 50 years. The drought has affected over 1 million residents and damaged 400,000 hectares of crops, inflicting a direct economic loss of 1.6 billion yuan, $227 million. In the past 3 decades, Mongolia has also been experiencing extreme droughts and water shortages due to the increased number of livestock animals being raised, and approximately 72% of the land has become severely degraded and overgrazed. The effects of this crisis are hitting the local nomadic people's lives hard, leading them to migrate to urban areas to seek jobs and leaving empty lands behind. In 2019, the number of livestock in Mongolia reached 71 million, which is approximately 3 times greater than 1970s levels. This increase in livestock animals is the main cause of the droughts, occurring all over the country. The area's rainfall pattern has been reduced during the summer, leading to lack of grazing for the animals and further increasing the frequency of extremely severe winter disasters, known as Tsut, during which many animals are killed and the nomadic people's lives are adversely affected. In South Asia, a report by India's government found that 600 million Indians, nearly half the country's population, are facing acute water shortages. The effects of the drought are seen most clearly in rural India, where approximately 300,000 Indian farmers have committed suicide in the past 25 years, and many more have deserted their crops to move to cities in search of work, leaving behind the elderly.
The heat wave and drought plaguing the entire South Asia region is an example of how the environment is turning hostile. Over 330 million people in India are suffering from an acute water shortage, and this is one of the most severe droughts that the country has experienced in years. Worst hit is the semi-arid region of Marathwada, infamous for the exceedingly high number of farmer suicides in Maharashtra. Marathwada is a strong example of how extreme weather is becoming the new normal. A major portion of the population lacks water for basic use, let alone farming.
India is currently facing the worst water crisis in its history.
Cape Town's flirtation with Day Zero brought the apocalyptic future promised by Hollywood producers crashing into our realities. And last month, Shimla gave India its own Cape Town moment. With 75% of households still without access to drinking water at their premises. India is ranked 120th out of 122 countries on the Quality of Water Index. Today, 600 million Indians are living under extreme water stress. This means they are unable to meet their human and ecological demand for fresh water. What complicates matters is, this region produces 20 to 30% of the country's food and threatens national food security. Additionally, 54% of India's groundwater wells are declining. Of the accessible water, 70% is contaminated. And as a result, 200,000 people die every year due to inadequate access to safe drinking water. While more than 90% of the urban population has had access to basic water since the year 2000, by 2020, 21 major cities including Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad are expected to run out of groundwater, affecting 100 million people. By the year 2030, demand will be double of the available supply, and 40% of the population will not have access to drinking water. And by 2050, 6% of GDP will be lost due to the water crisis.
We'll take a moment now to listen to an important message and be back shortly. Please stay tuned to Supreme Master Television. Welcome back to our show about extreme drought conditions around the world on planet Earth, our loving home. We'll continue with the discussion of the situation in Australia. When we think about Australia, we think of cute koalas. The name koala comes from a word in the Aboriginal language meaning no drink. Koalas generally just lounge around in eucalyptus trees, lazily chewing leaves. But nowadays, koalas are doing something unusual. They are climbing down the trees to drink water from pools. Normally, koalas get nearly all of their water from their food, and researchers have linked this new behavior to climate change. Australia is in the midst of a super drought. The weather is getting hotter and drier, The eucalyptus leaves are less succulent, and now koalas need to drink extra water to survive. Large parts of Australia are currently experiencing the most severe drought on record. Central Australia's immense outback is made up of semi-arid bush and deserts where temperatures can soar above
50 degrees Celsius.
and it might not rain for years. This makes Australia the world's driest inhabited continent, and it's getting even drier. Farmers in Australia are already struggling with the drought, which has left entire towns without water, and the effects are now spreading to major population centers such as Sydney, where its 5 million residents were recently subjected to level 2 water restrictions, which regulate garden watering, hosing of hot surfaces, and car washing. Australia is even preparing for day zero, the day the water runs out.
There's real tragedy out there. But I ask those people who live in the urban areas and those people who are able to support those people who are on the land, those people who are producing our food, the people who are suffering daily. I think it's important for those who are out there being so badly affected by the drought to take advantage of every possible support they can. And let's hope and pray that the rains will come as soon as possible.
Supreme Master Ching Hai kindly shared the best way to stop global warming, the cause of extreme drought conditions around the globe, and thus save our planet, our loving home.
Precious freshwater supplies are also drying up, such as aquifers under the major cities of Beijing, Delhi, Bangkok, and dozens of other regions, such as the Midwestern United States, while the river Ganges, Jordan, Nile, and Yangtze have been reduced to a trickle for much of the year. In China, worst drought in 5 decades. Vital crops were lost in at least 12 northern provinces, costing the nation billions of US dollars in drought relief to farmers with losses. We still can rescue our home, planet home. Okay, number 1 solution is vegan, organic vegan. Veganism will save our world. I will report to you one by one how vegan would save our world. Luckily, there are easy actions we can take. I will list them for your reference. Now, many of these areas where we are seeing such devastating effects of climate change, such as Arctic melt, land sinking, water shortage from glacier melt, and even storms increasing, are all directly related to the Earth's temperature increasing. So we must cool the planet, first and foremost. And the best way to stop global warming is to stop producing the greenhouse gases that create the heat. Logical, no? Yes. We already know about the efforts to reduce emissions, such as from industry and transportation. But changes in these sectors are taking too much time, more than we can afford at this rate, at this hour. One of the most effective and fastest way to reduce the heat in the atmosphere is to eliminate methane production. Methane not only traps up to 72 times more heat than carbon, it also goes away from the atmosphere much faster than CO2. So if we stop producing methane, the atmosphere will cool more quickly than if we stop producing carbon dioxide. See what I mean? Organic vegan will produce beneficial cooling effects as it will cut down methane and other greenhouse gases, which are fatal to our survival.